Welcome back to the Artful podcast, guys. It's Matteo, your host, and today we're gonna be joined by another artist for another studio chat. We are going to talk about her practice, and finally we got another painter. To talk about art with us, and I'm really excited. And actually we got super interesting story how we start talking, how we met. So basically I was scrolling to Instagram, I saw her paintings, they looked amazing. I text her and I asked her, do you want to be part of the podcast? And she was so kind to say yes. And yeah, that's it. That's our story. It's incredible how nowadays we can just do this. She lives near London, I think now, but she's from Edinburgh. She moved around a bunch, so it's just incredible that nowadays we can just connect with those amazing artists that we might never gonna see in person, but we got the chance to talk to them and to talk about art and their practice, and just it's great. I don't give much credit to social media most of the time, but yeah, this is one of the positive side of social media, and it was incredible. And when I saw her painting, they were really interesting, and that's why it makes me curious, and I wanted to talk to her because I see a lot of art on Instagram. That's what I use Instagram for. See paintings, see artworks, and makes me just looking for like ideas and stuff. So, and as I said, I see a lot of art, but obviously I want to talk about with just the artist that seems to have something really interesting to say. So I contacted her, and she was really kind to talk to me, and we had a lovely chat about her practice and how she's really into traditional painting, which I love. That's what I love to do, and that's what I love to see in the museum. So it was really nice to talk about traditional painting. And anyway, that's Tiffany BARBER and our studio chat. You alright?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Sorry about changing the time. I was fixing the Wi-Fi.
It's
been
alright.
a bit funny. Yeah, let me know if it's sounding weird.
No, that's alright. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to switch just to my mobile day.
Yeah,
so hopefully.
Yeah, you do you, and then we can start.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah. But yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, ask away. Quite excited to talk about my artwork, just because it's all been, everything's been pretty crazy recently, so it's good to chat about it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I literally start this, because I was locked away and I wanted to talk to people about art and stuff, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna do this, and so I can talk to artists basically.
Yeah, no, it's such a good idea. I was listening to a few other ones of yours, and yeah, it's fun. It's a good thing to start doing. I'd never have the confidence to do it, but yeah. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'll do this when you ask me.
Oh, that's great. Do you wanna just start straight away, and you wanna introduce yourself, and see where you're from and what you do and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, my name's Tiffany BARBER. So I'm an oil painter. I've been painting basically my whole life. It's the one thing that I've just always wanted to do since I was 5 years old. I said I want to be a painter, specifically a painter as well. So Yeah, so I just went on life trying to be an artist. I'm from Scotland originally, but I've sort of moved all over trying to take my art with me since, yeah, and then I studied for 4 years at Edinburgh College of Art. And then after that, I sort of tried to keep my artwork going, but there was like, you know, the struggle of finding a studio and trying to just enter the real art world, which I don't think you can prepare yourself much for.
Yeah, it's
like during university.
yeah, it's
so
really
it's a bit of a
complicated.
shock, but that was about 3 years ago now, 4 years ago. Time has flown by, and I've been all over the place, moving around. I went to live in Asia for a while, tried to paint in Asia, which was quite interesting. Was teaching sort of like art classes out there as well,
Nice.
which was, yeah, pretty cool because I was living in Vietnam, and I think maybe their sort of like art side of things are a little bit repressed. So it was really nice to go out there, live there, try and help other people sort of express their selves through artworks. And yeah, moved back to the UK. Missed it too much. Don't know why. It's freezing here. But I came back, and yeah, just trying to. I had been working quite a lot, so I've always been quite a hard worker.
Work ethic.
So like, yeah, hard work ethic. So I could never imagine myself just painting. So like self-employed artist, which I am now. But that only sort of became a thing because I got furloughed from like my full-time job, and then my part-time job on top of that I couldn't do anymore because it involved being around a lot of people. I was teaching art classes to adults as well, so then that was a no-go. And yeah, and then I sort of like became a self-employed artist, and like with my new sort of series, which we'll probably get into later on, I'm sure,
Yeah.
has just taken off. So now I don't want to go back. I want to just paint all the time now that I can.
I know. I completely understand. I work part time just to make sure like get money in a restaurant, just like a couple of shifts during the week. But then I was furloughed, and then I never really realized how much time does those 2 shifts take during the week. It's insane because it just drove me off from like what I'm doing usually, like painting, and not doing those 2 shifts, it did really push me to produce so much more, so much.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I feel that, because I have a lot of friends who are still making incredible artwork, but they have like a part-time job on the go, but it's sort of like they're just waiting for the day to come where they're working, and it sort of like gets in the way of them being productive sometimes.
Exactly.
But I think we'll see how it's going for myself. I might have to end up taking something sort of part-time side hustle job just to, have that security. But I think there's always going to be ups and downs with art, and that's kind of what artists need to accept. So I need to teach myself to accept that.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think depends how you see it as well. For me, I just understand to like, okay, I've got those 4 days during the week. I need to produce a lot during these 4 days, and then it's fine if I don't do like anything during these 2 days. So that depends how you do it. If you're like, oh, I need to work in 4 days, so I'm not gonna start anything. Like, you're never gonna start anything. But how did you? Something like I ask to every artist I interview. How did you manage the COVID lockdown thing? Because for me, it was quite interesting, obviously, discovering more time for me and having more time to produce. And I don't really, it didn't really change my routine, to be honest. I don't really go out. I don't really see that many people during the week. It's just like, so it literally just gave me more time to do my stuff. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was actually, I was so selfishly happy about it. Like, obviously, it's such a terrible, terrible thing, but I could see like so many artists being like, yes, this is the time to be a true, like, just be your true self, like true artist. So I was sort of stuck I was living in Leeds at that point, and staying in like a really small 1-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend as well. So we're a bit squashed for space. So I felt at the beginning, because I sort of had nothing to do, and then there was that sudden pressure of making like something, and I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? So like, and I'm quite a bit of like an OCD perfectionist artist. Like I can't just pick up a pencil and start sketching away. I really wish that I could, because I know so many incredible artists who can just produce something within like 30 minutes and it looks incredible. But I have to like meticulously plan everything.
I'm the same.
So that I've spent like 2 weeks like not like kind of like beating myself up about it, being like, why aren't you just painting? And then suddenly it all just started rolling in, because I used to sort of focus more on like painting like the female nude, and I had sort of hit like an artist block with that for probably quite a few years. I wasn't feeling like the rush to produce more of them, and I was kind of hitting like a wall with it. So then I've always been interested in like figurative artwork, and I'm always so amazed by like classical sculpture. So I was like, right, so why don't I sort of bring that into now, because I love looking at artwork that's got like, I don't know, a cheeky twist on it, or it just sort of like sort of makes you think about what's going on. So I started to paint some like classical like Roman busts and like Greek busts, and from then on like mixing that with like the whole gas mask thing, which I know we see a lot of right now. But I'd always kind of liked the idea of painting that. I quite like dark art as well, something that's a little eerie and does like sort of make you think. And it just, I'd always wanted to paint gas masks, but I was like, maybe it's a little bit too dark, not like pre-COVID as well. So I was like, no, this is the perfect opportunity. So I started playing around with that, and it weirdly just like took off from there. I was only gonna paint like a few paintings, like maybe like 1, 2, 3 paintings, sort of quarantine sort of based, focused on that. But I kept getting people sort of asking for more, which was really exciting. I was like, okay, this is working. And I sort of found a new love for it in a way during lockdown, because I had all this time, and I had sort of had the time to find what I like painting as well. Because I feel like I've probably had this sort of, with the style that I paint in, sort of with the sculptures floating in the abyss, I've had that idea probably in my head for such a long time, but never actually been able to put it down into an actual composition.
Oh, that's that's really interesting.
I loved it.
It happens to me like every 3 months that I have a block, and I'm like, how do I need to get out from this? Because then you get frustrated because you don't doing stuff, and it's all like a chain of stuff, events that you don't like, and you're like, I need to stop and just produce. So you said you went to Edinburgh College of Art, right?
Yeah.
And do you think, because you graduate you said 4 years ago, it was 2016?
Yeah, it was.
When
I graduated.
do you think the practice changed a lot while during like from your school, or stays pretty close?
I don't think it did. Only until lockdown, I really changed it. So I think that was probably the issue that I was having, because I was still trying to continue what I had been painting like at university in my last year, like still trying to roll with like the female nude, but trying to sort of like manipulate it into something a little bit different. But I never thought that it was quite working. So I did maybe like one more art series after university within like 3 years, and that was a series that I made in Vietnam. And that was sort of like a combination of like nude figures like on top of each other. But at that point I felt like probably a little bit lost with it. I was like, what am I trying to say here? Because I quite like a strong concept with the artworks, and I was like, I feel like I'm probably just painting because I enjoy the painting, but I feel I couldn't really find the purpose for it. And I think that's probably what has been so good about my recent series, is that got a whole different attitude towards it now. Like, I'm not just painting for the sake of painting. I'm painting because I want to do it. Like, I really love it. So yeah, so it has changed, but only in the past like five months.
Oh, it must be a really exciting time for you then.
Yeah, I have lists and lists of paintings that I want to do as well, so I just can't wait to get them started. Because recently, like when lockdown got a little bit more eased off, I've moved away from Leeds, moved into sort of near, like, north of London with my boyfriend's family. Was there for 3 weeks, then went back up to Scotland for 3 weeks, then back down to Brighton for like 2 weeks. Now I'm back in North London sort of area. But it's just been a whirlwind. But during that time, I've been like traveling with my paintings basically, and painting at any time that I can.
Oh.
But can't wait to get a studio.
Yeah, I know. It's I have quite a space like in my apartment. It's just like it's never enough, because then you have like containers full of paints of brushes. It's just like it's never enough. Unless you have like massive warehouse, then probably gonna be okay. But I
would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do the home studio again for a little bit longer, because I've realised, because we're moving to Brighton, found a flat that don't move in till next month, so that'll be the studio base for a while. Because I've found it's actually really competitive for studio spaces in Brighton.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I thought it would be easy. It's not.
Is it not quite small, Brighton, right?
Quite small, yeah, but a lot of artists. It's got it's very competitive to get studio spaces, especially ones that sort of have natural light in them, which is what oil painters need the most. I've seen some dingy studio spaces that I'm like, probably not.
Yeah, that's and that's how you work, right? You do oil painting on canvases, pretty much.
Yeah, every time. So I think I've used like oil paint on like board, on wood, but I find like the whole process of like building my own canvas, priming it and then sanding it down so it's like really, really nice and smooth, so the oil can just be moved around and manipulated so easily, it's just such a good feeling, like almost like therapy.
Yeah, is it not such a great feeling when you like working with the oil paint? Because that's what I do, work in oil. I do a lot of drawings like charcoal, ink, but if I paint in oil, and it's just it's such a different quality, and it's just a great, like just the feeling of like moving on the canvases, and it's just it's so good.
Yeah, I get very obsessive with making like the oils just like smooth so neatly into each other as well. Like, it's much better than acrylic. I was teaching the art classes, like I said before, but I was teaching in acrylic because I was doing it like through a company. So
they
it
need
just
a budget.
Felt so rushed because it just dries so quick, and I'm like, no, I wasn't ready for that.
I know. It's a bit. It's just different. I use acrylic. Well, I don't really use acrylic, but if I do it for like quick sketching, just to kind of comprehend the shadows, the lights, and something I don't really care. Like, whatever happens on the page. It's like, it's okay. But if I wanna make an actual painting where I'm gonna spend hours on the canvas, it just, I need to do an oil, because then it's more it's just different quality.
It gives, I just love the shine that it comes with it as well. Like, I always just feel so impressed by it. And you go into like the National Art Gallery in London and you see all these incredible paintings by like Caravaggio or Michelangelo, and just seeing the shine on it, and especially when it's got the little cracks in it as well, just with time, I don't know, it just really sucks you into it. Like, maybe it's just myself because I am obsessed with shiny things. Like, I don't know if you've seen one of my previous painting series where I was painting tinfoil.
Yes, I did.
Obsessed. I go through a few different obsessions, so that was one for quite some time, but it's the textures in it, and painting that with oil was also it was a challenge, but it just felt great to be able to smooth all those different cracks and colors into each other.
And that's basically how I found you, because I was going through Instagram and I saw your paintings and I was like, oh, that's looks great actually. And I was impressed from the use of like the background and how the subject pops from it. I think it was one of your recent painting that has like a blue, really dark blue background, and it has like a statue on the front. I don't remember which one exactly it was, because you did quite a few of those recently.
I've done about 5 paintings now as part of the quarantine.
Yeah, and then I was I just was like, oh, I need to ask her if she can be part of the podcast. So I was like, yeah, why? That looks great. I want to see what's going on behind. And I think that's I was reading as well, like on your website, and I got the impression that for you, your artworks engaging with the audience, and you are interested in their perspective and in their perception of what's going on the painting, and how do you provoke that in the audience? So how do you think you do that? Is through like your subject? Is through the theme of the series?
I think so. Previously, in my other series where I focused more on like female nudes, it was probably more with subject and composition. So like the piles of like female nudes was sort of hinting at like sort of the mass use of like these sort of photoshopped, perfected bodies like through the media. So I was looking into sort of like female social issues at that point. But with my like most recent series, the quarantine series, I sort of want to provoke people through the composition again and the subject, but also just like the colors. I think there's more involved with what I'm doing now that sort of provokes a dialogue between people, because you kind of look at it and you're like, what is going on here? Like usually you'd see these sculptures just like in a museum or sitting like in an outside space, but bringing it into this sort of composition where it's floating in the middle of nothing kind of like questions, like, well, just makes people question it, and everyone has different sort of reactions towards it, which I do enjoy. I don't want it to be something that just says this is what it is. I want people to be able to think differently about it, so it's always interesting to get everyone's different perspectives on it. Some people find it really quite haunting, whereas others will find it sort of more like ambiguous, or like people can like resonate with it quite well, obviously with the fact that with everything going on right now.
Nice. And why are you drawn to this subject, the women?
So like, well, more so I'm now sort of drawn to both like sort of like the female and the male sort of sculptures. I kind of like refused before to paint like the male nude, but I think it was because I just hadn't really realized in what way I like painting them. So I can paint them now from these classical sculptures because they've got so much detail in them. Like they've got like these crazy like Roman like figures, like very muscular, and they've got all this crazy hair and like all the little details that you find in like the things that they carry around with them. And I'm painting one right now that's got Bacchus, so like the Greek god of wine, or Roman god, sorry. And he's just holding these grapes, and he's holding, I can't remember what it's called, sort of like this big sort of stick that's got like grapes hanging from it and things draped off it. So it's pretty interesting to paint these things now, and especially with like the female nude, from moving on to like, because I was painting these sort of like perfected, smooth, slim bodies, now sort of taking it back to more of like a natural female nude from the sculptures. Sometimes they're not so realistic because was it Venus? Not Venus. Why have I forgotten her name? Venus de Milo. Yeah.
The
Venus
goddess
de Milo,
of
the standing
beauty.
one with the limbs gone.
Okay.
She is quite like she's got almost like a six-pack. But I think that within most of these sculptures, they do have a more realistic sort of like figure, and it just started working for me so much better than what I was painting before with like the female nude. It's lovely, the lovely slim sort of toned ones, but I think the marble sculptures are sort of more real, and it's sort of like made me fall back in love with painting these things again, and made me discover that I can paint like the male nude as well.
Is that in your recent series, especially, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because I'd never go there. I'd maybe like, I'd done some like life drawing classes where it would be like a male model, but I could never just get it quite right. I kind of have some issues sometimes with life drawing because I want to sit there for 5 hours. They only want to sit there for 20 minutes. I'm like,
I know.
Okay. But I did, so when I was at university, I did an exchange in Budapest. So it was the Hungarian University of Fine Arts, and it was so great because it was completely different from Edinburgh College of Art. It was much, much more traditional, and we had to go to life drawing classes every day. So we'd go to these life drawing classes for about 4 hours in the morning, and
that sounds great.
You could just sit there, for so long, and it was perfect for me, and it actually made me like it. And I had the funniest tutor who sort of helped me realize how to draw the figure accurately from life, and he just said the silliest thing. He was saying, so if aliens came down from Earth and then they had a look at your drawing and then created a human from that, it would be so off. Like one leg would be longer than the other, one like shouldered, like much bigger. Yeah. So that kind of put it into perspective for me. And it did work. Like it's funny, some things that work for you, things like that work for me. If someone was explaining it to me in like
in a weird way.
Really, like maybe in like really serious, all these like really artistic terms. Sometimes you just need it plain and simple. And I think that's what really works for me. So that's what I want to do in my art as well. I don't want to confuse people too much with it. Like I'm obviously hinting at like a lot of like issues that are happening right now. So I do want to make it something that everyone can look at and sort of relate to.
Have that idea of what is the painting about.
And
is the this I feel like there's a strong connection that you have with the past. So you're painting like sculpture. You said you built your own canvases. Is there something that you want, like you love to explore, and why? Just why? Because I'm the same. Traditional oil painting. I'm from Italy as well, so that's what everything like that come from. So. And it's just, how did you guys so into like in the past then? Because there is a strong connection with like contemporary art, like with between your painting, which is quite really interesting. So you use like traditional methods, but then you have like this popping color like as a background, and it's really interesting. And how did you find this connection with the past?
So I think I've always been interested in sort of these like Renaissance, especially like Renaissance paintings. I just think they absolutely blow me away. Like that is a part of history. It's captured something in history. So this is kind of like what I wanted to do with taking sort of these sculptural masterpieces, bringing them back into the contemporary, and by putting like gas masks and surgical masks, making them more relevant to today, because I think a lot of people maybe don't appreciate these sculptures for what they are as much as when it's like in a painting. So I thought, let's bring them, put them into the paintings and make them work together. And it's also just a little reminder as well that, things like this, like, you know, COVID has been happening for years. It's not new, but it just feels so new to us because we've never experienced it before. But this has been happening, you know, like the plague in like the early 1900s, and many more like pandemics before then. And it's just like everyone's experiencing it in their own way. So I thought maybe bring the history into the now, because those kind of gas masks that I'm painting on, they obviously weren't around then. So it's fun to sort of play with it like that. And I think, and what you were saying about like the process of painting as well. So from building my own canvas and doing it in a very like traditional way, I just have always appreciated when an artist does it like that. I think it's because I love all these like Renaissance artworks. Especially there's one in particular that I love that I saw in the National Gallery recently, and it's the Manchester Madonna by Michelangelo, and it's an unfinished one, which is why I love it so much. And you can see his process to it.
The building, or you can see the building up of the painting.
Yeah, so it's it's unfinished. It looks like it's maybe been half done, but who knows, it might have actually been finished. But you can see the way he's done it, I can sort of relate to my artwork. Like he's, you know, done a wash on the background, like a traditional wash after priming, and then he's drawn out the figures and drawn out, it almost looks like how I always describe it as like a paint by numbers, but you know, not a paint by numbers. And he's obviously painting it little bit by little bit. You know, you see some artists who do, when they're doing like traditional landscapes, they'll put a whole layer on and it's kind of like a blurred layer, and then they make it more refined, like the more layers they add on. And I was always told when I was at Edinburgh College of Art that I should be painting that way, but that just wasn't for me. It's I never liked doing that. I tried it once and then I just get completely lost, and I'd be so unsatisfied with like that process. So yeah, if you know, you've probably seen it before, like Michelangelo's the Manchester Madonna. It's so incredible. Like you see some like drawn out figures in the background and some more that have been like refined in the front, and it's just, yeah, I love it. So these kind of artists probably inspire my method of painting as well. And I think it's just like, it's great because you're bringing like this historical method of painting, you're continuing it, because there's so many different ways you can create art now. And I think
it's all about
it traditional. You don't want to lose it.
Yeah, it's literally, it's all about like bringing the tradition like forward and carry on like painting and how they used to do it. And it's just, yeah, it would be such a pain if like we lost that. So it's good, like there is a lot, like there's quite a few artists, obviously they carry on doing traditional painting, and obviously it's never gonna die, but it might. So it's really scary, because now it really takes a lot of time and energy on building the building. I would love to build my own canvas. I just don't have the space for it. It takes so much energy. I did like a few of those. It's an incredible. If you do it for every canvas of yours, it's just incredible. And
it takes it out of you.
Yeah, and I think like now especially young artists, they are coming out now. Just they don't want to. They don't find this attachment with the old traditional way of doing stuff. So it's good, like if there is a lot of artists that carry on doing that.
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. Like some artists will find it easier just to have it done by someone else, have it made by someone else, but there is a lot of artists who just enjoy that process. It feels much more real and almost intimate. Like the start of it, like with building the canvas frame, stretching the canvas, priming it. That's like the calm before the storm for me, you know, before you start getting into all the little details, because that's when you're really concentrating. I can just completely zone out when I'm stretching the canvas and priming it with like white, making it really smooth. It's a whole whole therapy for me.
Yeah, it's the calm before you get to the point you have the white canvas, and then you get terrified on starting the painting because you don't know. Yeah, it's always.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know you are in tight schedule today, and I don't want to take too much of your time. I just want to say thank you, Tiffany, to get part of the podcast, and we might see in the future and actually meet each other.
Inviting me.
Yeah, thank you very much, said Tiffany.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing what you're creating. What's coming next?
Yeah, I've got quite a few. Obviously, like if you're following on Instagram, I've got quite a few a couple of paintings I need to post next. Then I'm doing this series of like incomplete portrait, because I've kind of want to get away. Just it's not in my comfort zone. My painting needs to be finished. It needs to be done step by step, and when I decide it's finished, it's finished. But with this series, I'm deciding on the go just to let it go and don't come back and don't touch anymore. So you can see a lot of like pencil marks and washes before then actual painting and all the building of the brush work. So it's just for me a way to step back and be like, just to try something different and exploring and see what brings me next with this series.
I love that. Yeah, that's going to be great. It's always good to see how an artist peels back the layers of their own art. So yeah, I look forward to seeing those.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tiffany.
All right.
I'll let you go.
No. Yeah, nice to speak to you.
Nice to speak to you too. Bye.
All right, have a good day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Take care. And what a great talk. Thank you very much, Tiffany. That was great. Finally, another painter. We finally got another painter to join the talk. And it was really interesting as well. I knew she was an oil painter, but I didn't know she was that attached to the tradition of painting. And it was really... I was so happy listening to somebody else that's interesting in what I love. In my practice, that's what I do as well. So really, really happy with this episode. Anyway, if you wanna get in touch with me, just or write in the comments or find me on Instagram, Matteo Lorusso Art, and just DM me there. I will put a link in the bio. Don't forget to follow Tiffany Barber as well. I will put a link in the bio as well for her. Just click the follow button. It's just a little help. It helps. And anyway, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Artful podcast, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It really will help the channel to grow, have more numbers, bigger numbers, and it just will make more artists more welcoming to come and speak with me. And it just a little help, then you can do subscribe to the channel. And thank you very much for listening, guys. From the Artful podcast, I'm out.